UFC 295 is finally here, and it's a pretty decent card top to bottom. The prelims are a little weak. There are a few interesting prospects on the card. Jared Gordon's on the card, the guy who whooped Paddy Pimblett's ass, and he's facing Mark Madsen. That's an interesting fight. Dennis Bazooka's on the card, but overall the prelims are just kind of alright, but the main card is one of the best of the year for sure. Matt Frevola versus Benoit Saint-Denis is a banger of a fight of the night potential right there. Two powerful strikers with knockout potential. Matt Frevola is the guy that cracked Drew Dober's chin a few months ago, and Benoit Saint-Denis is a 12-1 prospect from France, with all of his wins coming by stoppage. Jéssica Andrade versus my future wife Mackenzie Dern could low-key be a banger fight, and if Mackenzie Dern beats Jéssica Andrade, she's only like a fight away from a title shot. Sergei Pavlovich versus Tom Aspinall is a banger. Sergei Pavlovich has never been to the second round in the UFC. He's got 6 wins, 6 knockouts, 6-fight win streak, and Tom Aspinall's only been to the second round once. And this fight's for the interim heavyweight title. Who knows what they'll do with Stipe and John Jones, but this is a better fight in my opinion than Stipe and Jones. And then the main event, my most anticipated fight of the year, Jiri Prochazka makes his return against Alex Pereira for the vacant light heavyweight title. There's not really any huge favorites, but my locks of the card I would have to say are Jamal Emmers and Joshua Van. And then my underdog of the card, I really like Matt Frevola as a plus 176 underdog. I also don't hate Jéssica Andrade as a plus 160 underdog, depending on which version of her shows up. But let's move into Benoit Saint-Denis versus Matt Frevola. Both of these guys are knockout artists with so much power on the feet. Matt Frevola knocked out Drew Dober, Otman Zaitar, and Genaro Valdez back-to-back in the first round. He's extremely powerful on the feet. He's also very quick. He has a very good jab, a decent right hand with a lot of power. He's a very well-rounded striker. He's got decent kicks, good at switching up between leg kicks and head kicks, but defensively he does leave a lot of holes and a lot of openings. He's actually okay at parrying punches, and he keeps his hands up and his chin low, but he overextends on a lot of his punches. Pretty much all of his punches he overextends on and leaves himself exposed. Now, he was able to get away with this in a lot of his past fights because of how good his chin is. He took clean shots from Drew Dober, clean shots from Otman Zaitar, and never got wobbled, never got knocked down. And we all know how powerful of a striker Drew Dober is. However, his chin has been cracked before. Terrence McKinney knocked him out in like 7 seconds with a 1-2. But since then, his chin has looked very good. Benoit Saint-Denis is a very similar fighter to Matt Frevola in that he's got a lot of power. He likes to get up close and box in the pocket. However, against Matt Frevola, that's probably not the best idea since Frevola is much more clean in the pocket. His shots are much faster and more technical than Saint-Denis are. But from range, because Saint-Denis is a longer fighter, he'll definitely have the advantage, and he can stick behind his jab. Frevola has a good jab, but so does Saint-Denis. And then off his jab, as Frevola tries to explode in, Saint-Denis can catch him with that right hand as Frevola overextends. Now, where Saint-Denis is going to have a ton of success is in the grappling and wrestling. He's overall a better grappler than Frevola. Frevola does have good defensive grappling, not the best takedown defense. He's open to the single legs because of how wide he stands, but he's able to scramble pretty well. His submission defense has looked okay, but then after the first round where he begins to gas out, that's when his grappling defense gets worse and he gets sloppy, and his takedown defense gets much worse. So if Saint-Denis can make it past the first round, that first round's going to be tough. I think he'll probably win this fight, but in the end, who am I going to pick? It is very tempting to pick Matt Frevola, especially at how big of an underdog he is, but I'm gonna lean with Benoit Saint-Denis. Benoit's chin hasn't been cracked yet, whereas Frevola's has. He's the overall fresher fighter of the two, so he's going to have a fresher chin, and Frevola does leave openings and gets kind of careless on the feet, but in the pocket, Benoit likes to trade, and Matt Frevola is just much more crisp and more powerful in the pocket, so if he tries to slug it out with Frevola like he has in some of his past fights, I think he gets knocked out. But if he can survive that first round, make it into the second, Frevola is going to be much more tired. He can take Frevola down. Frevola doesn't have the best takedown defense, and his grappling defense gets worse as he gets tired. And Saint-Denis has very good grappling, good submissions too, so I'm gonna go with Benoit Saint-Denis by a second round submission. But I can definitely see a world where he TKOs him on the ground, or either of them could knock each other out on the feet at any time because of how much power they have. I just trust that Saint-Denis' chin will hold up for that first round, and then after that first round, he'll be able to take him down and eventually find a finish. Then we move on to Jéssica Andrade versus Mackenzie Dern. Now, if this was prime Jéssica Andrade, I would pick her no question. I think she would defend the takedowns and piece Mackenzie Dern up on the feet. Andrade has a lot of power, fairly crisp boxing, and Mackenzie Dern does not have very good boxing. However, in her past few fights, Andrade has looked terrible. She's looked much slower on the feet. She just looks mentally drained. This is like her 5th fight this year, and she just got dominated by Zhang Yaonan and Erin Blanchfield not too long ago. And overall, she's just looked much worse lately. Her boxing hasn't looked as good. She's been leaving much more openings than she normally does. Her takedown defense has looked pretty terrible. Her grappling defense hasn't looked great either. She's, I think, 1-4 in her past 5, and her one win was against a human punching bag in Lauren Murphy, whereas Mackenzie Dern has looked very good in her past few fights. She dominated Angela Hill, looked amazing in that fight. Her boxing is improved. She's got a lot of power on the feet. She's not the most technical striker, and she definitely still leaves holes and openings on the feet, and Andrade still hits very hard, so that does worry me as a Mackenzie Dern fan, but her boxing has tightened up, and her wrestling's looking a little bit better, and her grappling is obviously amazing. If she gets this fight to the ground, she's going to dominate Andrade. I'm not sure she's going to finish Andrade, but she will absolutely dominate her. But in the end, I'm going to go with Mackenzie Dern by a decision, 2-1 decision. I think she'll survive the first round, probably lose the first round, where Andrade will come out fast, try and catch her on the feet, maybe defend a few of the early takedowns. However, I think Mackenzie's boxing has improved enough to where she'll hold her own on the feet, and then the second this fight goes to the ground, she'll either submit Andrade, or she'll hold positions and look for submissions, or land ground and pound. And I think after that first round, Andrade will gas out, and Mackenzie Dern's cardio has looked very good recently, so I think she'll be able to keep up that grappling and wrestling pace for the 3 rounds, and I think she'll win a decision. We then go to our co-main event of the evening, Sergei Pavlovich versus Tom Aspinall for the interim UFC heavyweight championship. John Jones got injured. Stipe apparently was never even offered the fight, so we got this. And no offense to John Jones or Stipe, but to me this is a much more interesting and fun fight. And honestly, whoever wins this fight, I think would make for a better matchup against Jones than Stipe. We all know Sergei is a very good boxer. He has a very good jab, probably the best jab in the heavyweight division. It's him or Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane has a more technical jab, but Sergei's jab has so much more power. He dropped Tai Tuivasa with his jab. He's got an okay right hand with a lot of power. His boxing combos are amazing. He's probably the hardest hitting guy in the UFC, and he's extremely fast. Now Aspinall probably has the speed advantage over him, which is new for him. Sergei hasn't been in a fight in a while, which he has a speed disadvantage. Defensively, his boxing isn't great. He kind of overwhelms his opponents with his power and leaves his chin exposed. However, he has an amazing chin. He has never been knocked out cold once, and I don't think he's ever been dropped, and he's never been wobbled. He took clean punches from Derek Lewis and was never dropped or wobbled. Tom Aspinall, on the other hand, is a much different striker. He likes to explode in and out of range. He's got much cleaner boxing, I would say, overall. He has a lot of power as well, not as much as Sergei, Sergei. The main difference is he has very good kicks. He's a much more well-rounded striker than Sergei. His leg kicks, which are going to be there in this fight because of how heavy Sergei stands on his lead foot. He stands like a boxer, which means those leg kicks are always going to be there, and if Tom Aspinall can stay out of boxing range and kick at Sergei's legs, he'll have much more success on the feet. He can also use those leg kicks to set up the high kick. Aspinall also has very good footwork. He's very fast on his feet, moves around a lot, which is crucial in this fight. He can't stand in front of Sergei. Off his footwork, he explodes in and out of range very quickly. He can then use this footwork and his boxing to transition into wrestling. However, on the feet, Aspinall has a big hole, and that's the fact that he doesn't have very good boxing defense or striking defense in general. Keeps his hands pretty low. He leaves his chin straight up in the air, and he gets caught before because of that. Marcin Tybura caught him many times with the right hand because Aspinall leaves his chin so high in the air, and if that's Sergei Pavlovich catching you, with the amount of power he has, you're probably not recovering. When Aspinall darts in and out of range, he leaves his chin exposed, so that counter right hand is always there from Sergei. As well, Aspinall doesn't move his head, and Sergei's got a very fast jab. So with Aspinall's hands being so low, with his chin being so high, and he doesn't have the reaction time to move his head out of the way of Sergei's jab, that jab is going to land all day. And I could see Tom Aspinall getting dropped with a jab. Now, where Tom Aspinall can dominate Sergei is on the ground with his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, does he have the wrestling to take the fight down? His wrestling is okay. It's gotten better. He's got a very good double leg, and he's good at transitioning and exploding into takedowns. However, Sergei's takedown defense has looked pretty decent. He defended Curtis Blades' takedowns very well, although Curtis Blades didn't really attempt too many takedowns. And a lot of people like to bring up the Alistair Overeem fight. I have gone back and watched that fight so many times in the past few weeks, and I think people are overreacting a little bit about that fight. Sergei's takedown defense actually looked pretty good. He didn't defend one takedown and then got controlled on the ground. That's where you should be worried. If this fight touches the ground, it's probably over because Alistair Overeem was able to control him so easily on the ground. Sergei's so top heavy, and he just got destroyed with ground and pound. Now, he was like 25 years old. It was his UFC debut. It was like 7 years ago, and it was against Alistair Overeem. Even though it was an older Overeem, it's still tough to have your first fight in the UFC against a guy of that caliber. Sergei also does have a background in Greco-Roman wrestling. And if he can defend the takedowns because of how exposed Tom Aspinall leaves himself when he enters and exits range, Sergei can punish him with uppercuts, right straights, and then at range, Sergei can constantly pepper Aspinall with the jab. In this fight, I don't think Pavlovich can be as aggressive as he has in his past fights. He can't walk forward and just slug shots because Aspinall's going to have an easier time taking him down. He needs to be patient behind his jab, and then when Aspinall explodes forward, try and capitalize and catch him with the right hand. Pavlovich doesn't have the best striking defense. Curtis Blades tagged him many times. Now, Curtis Blades is a very good striker, but Aspinall is the most powerful and technical striker he has faced. Yeah, he's faced more technical strikers like Curtis Blades and more powerful strikers like Derek Lewis, but he's never faced a guy who's as technical and as powerful as Tom Aspinall. And if Sergei leaves his chin exposed like he does, where he walks forward and wing shots, Aspinall could catch him and knock him out. He needs to stay patient behind his jab. He's got a 6-inch reach advantage, 84 to 78, which is huge. And then as Aspinall tries to explode forward, catch him with the right hand. He has to set up the right hand instead of just throwing out naked and hoping it lands. Aspinall's key to victory is to get this fight to the ground any way he can, but he has to do it smartly. He has to stay at range, use his footwork, continuously move, kick at Sergei's legs, and then as Sergei tries to enter range himself, duck under the right hand, take him down with the double leg, and then control him on the ground. I think if this fight touches the ground once, the fight will be over. Aspinall will either be able to submit him or finish him with ground and pound. But in the end, who do I see winning this fight? I've been going back and forth for like 2 weeks now, but I'm gonna have to go with Pavlovich. I think he defends the takedowns, and on the feet, Aspinall just leaves too many holes. And with as much power Sergei has, leaving your chin exposed and your hands low at your hips is not ideal. Pavlovich only needs one punch, and if he stays patient, I think that opportunity will present itself. I'm not ruling out Aspinall winning. Aspinall could absolutely knock him out on the feet, although Sergei's chin has looked very good. But where Aspinall would have the most success is taking him down and controlling him on the ground, landing ground and pound. Sergei potentially would give up his back to get up. Aspinall can slide his hooks in and get the choke. But in the end, I'm going to have to go with Pavlovich, and I'll go with him by a first round knockout. His takedown defense has looked good enough for me to be confident that he can keep the fight standing for just enough time. I think Aspinall can absolutely take him down. I just don't think Aspinall will take him down before he gets chinned. And although Aspinall's chin has held up so far, Sergei just hits way too hard. I'm not confident in this pick whatsoever, but I'm gonna go with Sergei. And then we move on to our main event, Alex Pereira versus Jiri Prochazka for the vacant light heavyweight title. Alex Pereira is looking to become a 2-division champion in like 6 UFC fights, whereas Jiri Prochazka is looking to become a 2-time light heavyweight champion, the first one ever, and he would have done it in only 4 fights. This is his 4th fight, which means half of his fights have been for titles. Jiri is making his return to the octagon after a 1.5 year layoff. He hasn't fought since June of last year, and he's been injured since like November of last year, and he apparently had one of the worst shoulder injuries the UFC has ever seen. And that's a big X factor coming into this fight. How does he deal with the layoff? How does he come back from a shoulder injury that was apparently so gruesome? A lot of guys are never the same after shoulder injuries, and in the time Yuri's been out, Alex has had 4 fights. 2 of those were for titles, and this is Alex's 3rd fight in 7 months. The guy's been so much more active and definitely has the momentum going into this fight. On the feet, Alex is definitely the much more technical and sharper striker. Yuri's much more wild. He throws crazy unorthodox stuff that you wouldn't see, like the spinning elbow he knocked Dominic Reyes out, jumping switch knees, flying kicks. But these unorthodox techniques could give him a better chance of beating Alex, because Alex is a traditional kickboxer. No one is beating Alex in a technical striking match, so making things a bit dirty and wild would give him a look he's never seen before, and he might not know how to react, making it easier for Jiri to land on Alex. Now, Jiri does leave a lot of holes defensively that Alex can exploit. He overextends on a lot of his punches. He keeps his chin very high and forward. As Jiri moves in behind his jab, Alex can counter him with a left hook, which we know is Alex's best punch. He's knocked so many guys out with that left hook in both MMA and kickboxing. As well, Jiri has a massive weakness to the leg kicks because of how heavy he stands on his lead leg and how wide his stance is. And I have said before, Alex has the best leg kicks in the UFC in my opinion, and some of the best kicks in general. He has no telegraph. His kicks are so powerful. He outkicked Jan Blachowicz, who is also one of the best leg kickers and leg kick defenders in the UFC. And if Jiri switches from orthodox to southpaw to avoid the outside leg kick, he opens up the head kick for Alex, and Alex has very good no telegraph head kicks. And it seems like recently it's been the year of the head kick. Justin Gaethje knocked out Dustin Poirier with a head kick. Islam knocked out Volkanovski with a head kick. And because of how low Jiri keeps his hands, he's not going to have time to react if Alex throws a head kick and defend it. Jiri pretty much solely relies on his reaction time and speed for his defense, but against Alex, who's so fast and doesn't telegraph any of his punches, he's going to have a hard time defending a lot of Alex's shots. Alex has a very good jab, a great left hook, a decent right hand with a lot of power, and very dynamic and effective kicks with a lot of power behind him. Now, Alex's striking defense isn't the best. He shows a massive weakness to the right straight, and that is coincidentally Yuri's best punch. We saw Adesanya in their first fight nearly knock Alex out with a right straight. We saw him actually knock Alex out with a right straight in their second fight. He got caught by the right straight against Blachowicz. He got caught many times in kickboxing with the right straight. It's a punch he doesn't see and defend too well. So if Jiri can move in behind his jab and land that right straight, I can absolutely see him knocking Alex out. Alex's chin has looked decent at light heavyweight. Jan Blachowicz didn't even phase him with his punches. Now Jan was tagging him, which worries me in a fight against Jiri. But Alex's neck and traps look a lot thicker. He's not as dehydrated, cutting all the the way down, so his chin's going to be better. His cardio is going to be better. That's another thing. Cardio won't be an issue in this fight. Alex has shown that he can go 5 rounds like he did against Adesanya, and his power stays all 5 rounds. And then in his last fight against Jan Blachowicz, even at elevation, he didn't gas out. And Jiri, we know, can go 5 rounds because of his fight with Glover, where even though he was doing a bunch of explosive movements, moving all over the cage, throwing power punches and weird jumping techniques, he never gassed out. Striking on the feet is a dangerous game to play for Jiri because of how many holes he leaves. He likes to pressure his opponents forward, and a lot of his success on the feet relies on his pressure, but Alex is a guy who does not like to be pressured. He likes to circle away, stay off the fence, or pressure you. And if Jiri gets a little over aggressive, he can walk into Alex's left hook like Sean Strickland did, and I'm not sure Jiri can take it. Now, where Jiri can absolutely dominate this fight is in the grappling and wrestling. We have seen Alex get controlled on the ground before, and Jiri does have very good, very underrated grappling. If Jiri is able to take Alex down, which is a big if, I think he will absolutely have the advantage there and could possibly submit Alex. Now, Alex's takedown defense has looked a lot better, and he's also just a big guy, hard to hold down, hard to take down, hard to keep down, but he did get controlled by Jan on the ground, and although Jan does have better jiu-jitsu and better wrestling than Jiri, Jiri doesn't need to have as good a wrestling and jiu-jitsu to take down and keep Alex down. Jiri was always looking off his back to scramble and get up against Glover. He was always looking for different positions, and he submitted Glover. And no, it was not a fluke. Jiri has very good grappling, but can he utilize it against Alex? Can he take Alex down? I think he can, but I don't think he'll be able to consistently take Alex down. Alex has very good takedown defense, and his submission defense has looked very good. It looked good against Jan Blachowicz. Now, a lot of his takedown defense does come from his size and his strength, and he will be the smaller guy against Jiri. This is the first time Alex will be the smaller guy in any of his MMA fights, which could make it easier for Jiri to take Alex down. I just have a hard time believing Yuri's going to be able to take Alex down consistently throughout this whole fight. But in the end, who do I see winning this fight? On the feet, I think Alex has the advantage. Jiri can always catch him. He's very fast, might even be faster than Alex. He's very powerful, as we know, and his unorthodox style will make it easier for him to catch Alex, who's not used to seeing punches and strikes thrown from different angles, not used to defending those different techniques Jiri likes to use. But on the flip side, that wild style Jiri likes to use will make it easier for Alex to hit him because he leaves so many openings on the feet. He keeps his chin in the air, his hands down at his hips, and pretty much relies solely on his reaction time for his defense, but he doesn't have a lot of time to react against Alex because of how technical and how fast Alex is. Now, if Jiri is able to take the fight to the ground, it's a different story, but I have a hard time believing he will be able to take it to the ground consistently. As well, we don't know how Yuri's going to return from the layoff and from his shoulder injury, and Glover is in Alex's corner. Glover already fought Jiri once, and he was in training camp to fight Jiri a second time before Jiri got hurt. So Glover has studied Yuri's game, and he can relay that information to Alex, and Alex can use that to capitalize on the holes Jiri leaves and the tells Jiri gives. So in the end, I'm going to have to go with Alex Pereira, and I'll go by a 3rd round knockout. I think he'll either land the left hook as Jiri moves in, or he'll land a head kick. Alex can set up that head kick off the leg kicks, and then as Jiri switches stances to avoid the outside leg kick, Alex can feint with the right hand, land the head kick, or he can feint with the jab, land the head kick. He can land wheel kicks to the head. He can throw roundhouse kicks to the body, and just use the body and leg kicks to condition the head kick. As well, off Yuri's entry, where he enters in behind his jab and then throws the right hand, he likes to overextend on that right hand, which leaves him open to the left hook over the top. Now, Yuri's style is going to be hard for Alex to figure out. His footwork in and of itself is going to be hard for Alex to figure out. The weird front kicks he likes to throw, the elbows. I think Alex is going to have a hard time defending initially, but I think by the 2nd or 3rd round, he'll sort of understand Jiri, get it down, download the data, and capitalize on the openings, catch Jiri, and knock him out. But those are my final predictions for UFC 295. It's a very good main card. The prelims are alright. They got some interesting fights on them, but the main card is one of the best of the year, one you don't want to miss, and I'm going to cover all the fights after they happen. But anyways, as the end of the video, if you did enjoy, please be sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications, leave your predictions in the comments down below, like the video if you did enjoy, and I'll see you guys in the next video.